Hello, this is Mist Moon again, and we are going to the Roman Empire on my first history explorer.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. Somehow I don't have any of my own. Speaking of the
Fair
here
enough.
and now, you're in the Roman Empire, 100 AD.
Yeah, basically, the Roman Empire is, I think, the biggest exploration
Britain.
thing that
The Romans
there is.
conquered England and
I
Wales
don't think there's
and
any
called
other
this
one that
part of
has
their
as
empire
many things to
Britannia.
click on either.
However, they never
There's a
conquered
lot to say about the
Scotland
Roman
or
Empire.
Ireland.
It's probably was one of the biggest empires in the world,
Keeping
after all.
clean. Most Romans went to the public baths to wash. Roman baths had
so,
hot and
yeah.
cold pools and a steam room. The Romans did not
I
have
have to
soap.
admit, a fair amount of what I know
To get
about
clean, they
the
covered
Romans
themselves with olive
comes
oil
from
and then scraped it off.
Asterix and that.
Dirt
so
came off with the
probably
oil.
not the most.
Romans washed themselves with soap.
Probably
olive oil.
not the most accurate of things for me to know things from.
Wealthy home. Some Romans lived in grand homes called villas.
I'm kind of
A
amused
villa
by,
had a
because they've tried to
bathroom,
put the
a
map on an
kitchen,
angle,
and gardens with
they've
fountains
kind of
and pools for
squashed
fish.
quite a lot of
Some villas even had heating
people up
under the
north
floors.
there. They've squashed
Inside,
squashed
the
my
walls
home
were
country
decorated with beautiful
of
pictures
England.
called murals.
And God
Gaul.
even knows what's going
In
on
Roman
with
times,
Scandinavia
approximately
up
the
there.
same area that is now France was called Gaul. This part of the empire
Yep,
was
that's
famous for its pottery.
why you get Charles de Gaulle.
Roman fort.
Still.
When they were at war, Roman soldiers made a fort every night.
Yeah, I don't have much more to
They
say on the
dug a
mechanics of
ditch
this
and
game,
built
to be honest, by
sturdy
this
wooden
point, because I
fence to
think
surround
everyone's
their
pretty much
tents.
figured out what it is.
At the borders
Click
of
on
the
a thing,
empire,
get the
they built
page, get the
permanent
sticker, get
fortresses
the
with
activity,
stone
get
walls
the
and watchtowers.
clipping, get the
When
photo,
they were at war,
move
Roman
on.
soldiers built forts every day, every week.
At time of posting, I will have actually finished the non-commentary version of this Let's Play, which, to be honest, doesn't surprise me much, because
Roman
this isn't a very
soldiers were
long
called
game,
legionaries.
and
They had to march long
the game
distances
took me longer
and
than it
fight
would have done
battles to defend
normally,
the empire.
purely because I stopped to listen to all
Poor
of this
Romans
narration.
joined the army because the pay
Normally
was
you can just click
good. At
through
the end
it,
of 25 years of service,
so
they were
I
given a
can
plot of land.
read much faster than this
Roman
lady can
soldiers
say
were
it, so
called
normally I would have just
legionaries,
skipped through it all.
gladiators.
That eagle freaks me. I'm sure there's something, because
Romans
all the
at
animations
war.
that you see on
Roman
here is
soldiers
the thing
fought
that
many
you trigger
wars
when you
to
click on it,
defend
so I'm
their
sure there must be
empire and
something to
win
click
new
on to trigger
lands.
that eagle, but
They were
I've
well
never
armed and
found
used
it.
weapons such
And
as
whatever it is has
catapults,
never had
which
the
held huge rocks at enemy forts.
piece on.
The Romans used
I
weapons
don't know.
such as guns,
If you
catapults.
click on the actual... I don't show this at any point in the Let's Play, but if you actually click on that little blue book Roman
Germania.
Empire scroll
Most
thing
of this
down
area
there,
was not part of the Roman
then you
Empire.
will get a little index
The barbarian tribes that
um,
lived in Germania, now called
page
Germany,
of all of the
fought many
pages that you
wars
can
with the
get to
Romans.
from this page. And similarly, if you click on the index index filing cabinet down there,
Slaves.
then it'll
Almost
also
all
give
of the
you
hard work in the Roman Empire was done by slaves.
option to look through
Most
all
slaves were
of
prisoners
the everything
captured
in the
battle
game.
and then sold to the
Which
highest bidder.
I presume they put that in purely
The
for
children of
people who
slaves
were
became
using
slaves
this
too.
for
Some
like
slaves were
a
treated well, but most
way to
had
look up
miserable
something for a
lives.
school project and didn't have time to actually play the game and just wanted the knowledge. I am going to silence my phone because otherwise it's going to keep pinging at me.
Barbarians. The Romans called everyone who lived outside their empire barbarians. There were many fierce barbarian tribes in northern Europe and Central Asia.
Barbarians.
The
So
Romans
called
fought
because
battles with
when the
tribes
Romans
such as
heard
the
their
Huns
language
and
they
the
thought they were
Goths,
saying
who invaded the
ba
empire.
ba. So called them barbarians. There's a horrible histories fact for you. In fact, anyone who's watching this who is interested in sort of like history made fun should really watch the Horrible History series
Honouring
and
the
read
dead.
the Horrible Histories
The
books, because
Romans
they do
placed a
it
gravestone on a
better than
person's
this game
grave as
does,
a
I'll say,
memorial.
certainly.
They believed
I
that
think
when
there is a
someone
Horrible
died,
Histories
their
game
spirit
on
was
like
taken
the
in a boat to the
CBC
underworld.
website.
People
But
were
I
buried with
honestly
a
can't
coin in
remember
their
if it
mouth
was
to pay
any
the
good,
boatman.
because by the time Horrible Histories came out, I wasn't going on the CBBC website as much, certainly not for games. And I was still like watching it because I have
Town
little
life.
sisters.
Life in a Roman
And
town
also
could be
because
uncomfortable.
I study animation, so
Most
I do end
Romans
up
lived
actually
in crowded
watching
flats
programs a
without
fair
running
amount
water,
because it's the way to
toilets
keep
or
up with.
kitchens.
There is
They
no
had to get
adult,
water from fountains,
apart from stuff
eat
like
food
Family
cooked in
Guy and
taverns,
South Park
and
and
use
that. There's
public
not so
toilets
much
and
adult
baths.
things. The town life
Most
thing
people in Rome
reminds me a
lived
bit
in
of
crowded flats, spacious
another
mansions.
thing that I used to read that was set in Roman times. This
Greece.
this thing called
The
Falco,
Romans
which
took
is
over Greece
basically
and made it
a
part of their empire. They
mystery
were
story
very
but set in
influenced
the
by
Roman
Greek
times,
ideas
of
and building
whatever the Roman
styles.
equivalent of a private detective was. It's a pretty interesting story actually. The version I had
Farming.
there was
Farming produced all that was needed
the
to feed a
BBC
huge number of
plays, the
people in the
BBC audio
empire.
plays. I keep meaning to actually look
Wealthy
for the
Romans
books there.
owned large farms worked by slaves. Poorer farmers had to do the work themselves.
Ah, yes, all of the slaves.
The Romans grew wheat, barley,
Because you know,
olives,
there was a
grapes,
time
and
when
many
your
types
skin
of
colour
vegetables.
didn't matter whether or not you were a slave or not. It was just a fact of whether or not someone had managed to capture you and shove you on a ship
Writing.
somewhere else.
Although many different languages were spoken in the Roman Empire, the official
Mentioned
language
in,
was Latin.
Another book
The
that I
Romans
read
brought
set in
writing
Rome,
to
the Roman
northern
Mysteries,
Europe.
which is more of a kiddie thing, but look,
The alphabet we use
but
today
it's still
is based
really
on
good,
Latin letters.
like young adult read, I suppose.
Latin
Even if it did go a
nicknames.
bit weird
In
towards
ancient
the
Rome, a
series
person's
end.
nickname described something about them. Some Latin nicknames are listed below.
And certainly
To
much
find
better
out
than
what
the
a
TV
word
show
means,
was based
click
on,
on
which
it.
was a little, but
If you
it
find a
used to,
nickname
it
you
changed
like,
a lot of the
you can save
darker
it to your
aspects
journal.
of the series, which
Nazo.
annoyed me.
Capito,
Oh yeah, this thing. This is more
Auritus,
of the wanting to
Silentius,
personalise the
Major,
game to you.
Minor,
I think I
Torquatus,
ended up going with Silentius
Pulcher,
purely because it was a quiet
Caesar.
playthrough. Which I'm not doing
Silentius.
now, but still, yeah. I can't even remember what I used to pick when I used to play this as a kid. Caesar half the time, I think, because I've got long
Roman
hair.
children. Roman boys went to school until the age of about 14. Girls stayed at home and helped their mothers. All children wore a charm
never
called a
sure,
bulla
'cause in a lot
to
of
ward
stuff
off
I
evil
read,
spirits.
Like,
They took
I've
this
read
charm
Roman
off when they
Mysteries
grew up.
by Falco, Eagle of the Ninth. There was one I read that was like about a guy on the Silk Road called something like, I don't know, it was an Imperial Dragon or something. I can't
Chariot
remember. It was
racing.
good.
The Romans loved going to racetracks to watch chariot
A lot
races.
of them that I've read
At
have
most
included saying,
racetracks, there were
oh,
four
there were
chariot teams that
educated
raced
women,
each
they were
other.
just from posh
Reds,
families with
blues,
progressive
greens and whites.
fathers, but I
Most
don't know
Romans
how
had a favourite team.
honest it is.
They often bet a
or
lot
whether
of
it's
money
just
on
them wanting to
races.
write a female
What
character
sport took place at a Roman
that's
racetrack?
intelligent
Dog
or
racing,
something, or
chariot racing.
wanting to make them stand out a bit. I don't know. Because
Syria. Syria was one of the Roman Empire's richest
artistic
territories.
license, after all.
Exotic goods arrived here from as far away as India and China.
Romans
Trading
not,
ship.
not
Roman
notoriously very
merchants
good
sailed in trading
with,
ships to ports
ships,
near
actually.
and far.
I remember reading somewhere that
Some
the navy
even
was actually
sailed
pretty
east
poor,
as far as
but
India.
they had good land troops.
Merchants imported
I might be
expensive
wrong, of course. It may be that
silks,
they
jewels,
once had
perfumes and
a bad
spices
navy and
from
got
China
better
and
or
India.
something. I don't know.
This trade made the eastern part of the empire very rich.
Of course,
Judea.
then the empire split in
Judea
two,
was the Roman
and
name
the
for to now the countries of
eastern
Israel
part
and
kept going for a
Jordan.
little while as the Byzantine
This Roman
Empire, I
territory
believe,
grew wine grapes
which
and olives
then
and
sort of
supplied
merged into
purple
the
dye
Ottoman
to Rome.
Empire, and then kept going for a little bit longer until
Egypt. Egypt was one of the Roman Empire's
But
most important
my
territories.
knowledge of,
It was very wealthy,
despite the fact that I'm
and was a
playing a
centre
history
for
game, my
learning.
knowledge of history is pretty basic. I'm certainly not an expert in it or anything. There's a lot of books and stories and things
Market.
that I
On
like
market
that
day,
was set in the
farmers
Roman
and
period. I
craftsmen
think
set up
partly
their stalls
because
in the town square
it's
or
long ago enough to be
forum.
romanticised about,
They
but there
sold
was
food and goods
so
such as
much
pots.
going on
There were also
in the
shops
Roman
where
Empire that
merchants
it's
sold
pretty
luxuries such as silk
interesting
and
to try
ivory.
and guess as well.
To get a good deal, you had to bargain.
There are Roman remains in my hometown, actually. There's a pub called the Roman Bath that has Roman remains in the basement, and they charge you to go down and have a
Feasting.
look at them.
Wealthy Romans often held
Which is
lavish dinner
lovely.
parties. They feasted on their favourite
But
foods,
I haven't bothered to
such
do
as
that.
fish,
I haven't bothered to do that
songbirds,
for a while,
stuffed
actually,
dormice and
because
olives. Dancers, singers,
not that
musicians and
good.
poets entertain the guests.
Oh yeah, that's a thing about the Roman
An
Empire,
ancient
isn't it? Weird
Roman's favourite
stuff
food
like
might be pizza,
stuffed
songbirds.
songbirds and stuffed flamingo tongues and all sorts of weird food that was more sort of expensive than edible. No.
Curing the sick. The Romans learned about medicine from the Greeks. They understood the importance of a good diet and
Romans
exercise
learnt was from the
and could
Greeks, let's
set
be
broken
honest.
bones. Patients
fair
paid to
amount
see
of
the
Roman
doctor, but there were
Romans
temples
were,
where people could be treated for free.
Imitating the Greeks in various parts of their culture, like in their gods and things.
Animals
me.
for the arena. The Romans liked to watch gladiators fight and kill wild animals. They rounded up thousands of lions from Africa for shows in arenas. Tigers and elephants were shipped in from India.
One of the things I'm a bit sad about
They
is I don't have
also
anything
killed
about
bears
Roman
and wolves
fashion
in these gruesome
in this
shows.
game, which I've always found the sort of the thing about togas and stuff to be quite interesting. And all of the, particularly women's clothing
Roman
in
senators.
Rome
Senators
is
were the
quite
most
interesting with all
powerful
of the
people
layers
in
and everything.
Rome, apart from the
Though
emperor.
part of me is just amused
In the
that
time before the emperors, the senators
Roman
ruled
gladiators
Rome.
that had to come up here to Britain
Senators were
still
chosen
had to
from the
wear
most important
sandals,
families in Rome.
and
Only free
speaking
men
from
could be senators.
sandals not a good idea, especially considering that was back when most
Italy,
of southern
the
England was still
land that
a
makes
bog.
up Italy, was the first to be conquered by the Romans. It became the heart of the Roman Empire. Rome.
Don't have
The
anything
city of
on,
Rome was the
Vesuvius
capital
or
of the Roman
Pompeii in this
Empire.
game either, which
It
is
was where the
interesting,
emperor
I
lived
suppose.
and the government was based.
I do think I might
This
have learnt a
beautiful
bit more
city
about
was
Rome
full
from
of
Asterix
markets,
than I did from
temples and
this.
palaces. Nearly 1 million people lived in Rome.
Yeah, there goes that frickin' eagle again. Yeah, this is one of the ones that I was trying to get in the right position to see the animation. I think the one that's the boat down there, I also wanted to position myself
Arena.
right, because it goes
An
quite a
arena
fair
was a big
way around the
stadium
screen.
where gladiators battled to the death.
Although
Most
looking at it
large
back
Roman
again,
towns
now that
had
I've
an
decided to
arena.
position it, I think it may
Wealthy
have been
Romans
partly
paid
because I
for
was
the
playing it
gladiator
on one of those
shows,
old
so it was free for everyone else to
CT
get in.
monitors, and it didn't.
The biggest arenas could
It
hold
used
more
to
than
bulge
40,000
out, and I
people.
think it might have been partly
Who
that
fought in the
affecting my
arenas of the Roman
ability to
Empire?
see.
Centurions, gladiators.
Whereas now, obviously, playing it on a lovely little LCD monitor, playing it on my laptop is a bit... Yeah, that was me. Since it decided to set itself off, that was me trying to figure out if I got it completely in. And I was going to cut it off at the end and then deciding bollocks to it.
Going to school. For Roman children, school was not much fun. Lessons on reading, writing and mathematics started at dawn. Teachers were often very strict and punished any mistakes.
I seem to remember in Roman
Thankfully,
histories they had,
lessons
like,
were
their
over by
own
lunchtime.
personal tutor or
Only
something who was
children
also
from
a slave.
families who could
I
pay
think he
went
might
to
have got
school.
freed in later books. But still, had a very interesting position on slavery, that book. In that both good guys and bad guys owned slaves. But I suppose that was true of the time, really.
Warship. To deal with pirates, the Romans used huge warships that could ram into enemy ships and sink them. On board a Roman ship were
Yes,
soldiers to
but-
fight the enemy, and slaves to row the ship. The biggest
All I know about
ships
Roman
had
pirates is
300
really
slaves
those,
on board
that
to
crew
pull
that was
the
always in
oars.
Asterix that used to end up getting their boats sunk in every episode. Although I think they might have had a couple of... episode every book, although I think they might have had a couple of books where it didn't happen.
Gladiators. Some slaves
I'd be
and
surprised
criminals
if
were
there
trained as
wasn't at least
gladiators.
one book where there was some kind
These
of
men were
subversion
forced to
going
fight each
Asterix,
other to the
but still.
death in front of cheering crowds.
Ah, yes.
Some
Slaves and
gladiators were
gladiators,
armed
two
with a
things
net
that
and
most
trident.
people put in
Others
when
had
they're
a
trying
stabbing
to show
sword and a
Rome.
shield.
Of course, I
Who
say the
would have
Hunger
been
Games are
likely to
based
be a
off Rome, don't
gladiator?
they? With
A senator? A slave?
outer bits of the empire and the capital in the middle getting all the best bits from each of them. Though it has to be
The
said,
emperor. The
one thing
ruler of
that
the
was-
Roman
that
world was the
was
emperor.
true of the real
Many
Roman
emperors,
Empire
such
and
as
was
Trajan,
not,
were great
not
leaders.
true in Hunger Games, I don't think.
Under
was
his
that there was the
command,
Pax
the
Romana
empire reached its largest
and
size.
stuff like standardised
However,
currency
some
and
of the
trade,
emperors were not good
which meant that
men,
there were
and a few
benefits
were
to being
driven
part
mad
of the
with
Roman
power.
Empire and things. There were benefits to joining them. Not that many, but there were.
Roman Road. A secret to the success of the Roman
Roman roads are
Empire was its
There are
excellent
quite a
roads.
few Roman roads that are still
The
there
Romans
in
built
England,
thousands
or
of kilometres of roads
ones
throughout their
that
lands.
current roads
Using
follow,
these roads,
tarmacked
their
over
mighty
now, but
armies
still.
could march quickly to where they were needed.
I think there is a road actually near me that's
Roman
literally
roads were
called
used
Roman
by
Road.
marching armies, cars.
But still. Clearly cars. Like I've said, there's no real penalty for getting those wrong.
Africa. The Romans conquered lands along the Mediterranean coast of North Africa. Wild animals were shipped from
I always
Africa to
forget how
Rome
far
to
the
fight
Roman Empire
gladiators in the
Roman
arenas.
Empire went, because when you learn about it, you really just learn about it coming up to Britain. Certainly if you're learning about it here, I never really quite realised how far east it went until I was a good deal older. Because most of the stuff
Roman
that
temple.
people write about
Every
Rome
Roman
focuses on
town
the
had
western
many
part,
temples,
because
each
that's got
dedicated
Greece
to a god
and
or
Spain
goddess.
and all the people that
A
kept their
temple
ruins
was seen
in
as a
it.
god's
All
home on
lovely.
earth, and a statue of the god stood inside. The Romans
Don't
were
really cover
afraid
the
of
fact
making
that,
the
of course,
gods
they
angry.
invaded Egypt and
They tried hard to
parts
keep
of
them
Assyria
happy
and
with
things
offerings.
later on. Aside from those that want to go on about how they were, who want people to meet Jesus and things like that.
Building work. The Romans were expert builders.
Hello, time trail.
They always carefully planned their work, and they had devices such as wooden cranes to lift blocks of stone. Roman builders invented
Yes.
concrete. Some of the roads, bridges and temples they built are still
That
around
time
today.
trail, like I said, really is the point of the game, because after completing the time travel journal, which I
Keep
did,
'em coming, kiddo. Only
earlier
5
today.
more to go.
I remembered why it was that it was a thing that was supposed to be done over the course of several episodes,
Spain.
right? Over
This part of
several
the empire
playthroughs of
had
this,
rich
not
mines
in
of gold
one
and
playthrough
silver,
as I'm doing
which
it.
the Romans used to
But-
make coins.
Meh.
Spain also grew a
I
lot
will
of the
talk
empire's
about that
wheat.
when we actually get to that.
Aqueduct.
I remember
To make sure
aqueducts.
there
I
was
remember
enough
that
water
was
for their
something that
public
was in an
baths and
Asterix book where there
fountains,
were
The Romans built
the
pipes called
Asterix and Obelix were on a
aqueducts.
cart and they
These were
saw
often built on top of bridge-like
aqueduct being built and they
structures.
just went
Aqueducts
Romans
were
destroying
sloped
the
to keep the
landscape with
water
their
flowing
modern
to its
buildings.
destination.
I'm like, yeah, sounds like certain people and things like wind farms and things, despite the fact that they're clearly good for people and they're not doing that much damage.
Roman women. Many women got married when they were very young, usually about 14. Most women looked after the house and the family.
They say
Some
they're
women
very young,
worked
about
outside
14,
the
but then of
home
course
as
the
priestesses
life
or running
expectancy
their own
wasn't much above
businesses.
30.
There were even a
So,
few women gladiators.
You know. Plus, of course, women have a biological clock that they have to fit into with my. I
Going
did
to
not mean
school.
to click
For
that.
Roman
Whoops. And I think I've
Time
completed
travel
everything.
journal.
So
My journey to the
I will see you in the next video, which will be
entertainment.
medieval life. And thank you for watching.